Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for February 23, 2024. And in the news this afternoon, lawyers for taxi driver charged in fatal Westmoreland crash say they have evidence implicating trucker driver. The defense team for the driver, who has been charged with 5 counts of causing death by dangerous driving, are reporting that they have placed their hands on a vital video of the accident which could implicate the truck driver. The driver of the Toyota Voxy, Delroy Rodney, whose vehicle collided with a truck on November 13, made his first appearance in the Westmoreland Circuit Court on Thursday since he was granted bail in the sum of $7 million a week ago. "I am making an obligation on their statement that they were going quite fast. I have seen a video that is suggesting collision could have been placed on the soft shoulder and not on the road," Attorney Law Lambert Johnson said, noting that Rodney's defense team has been strengthened as Attorney Shanika Somerville joins himself and the Faith Summon. However, Johnson's statement was met with a surprising revelation as the police later confirmed that the truck is back with the owner. Johnson and the legal team, who had pointed fingers at the driver of the truck, are requesting that the black box of his vehicle be tested. The black box is expected to tell the speed just before collision. "I am perplexed and puzzled that they were able to analyze the black box of my client, Mr. Rodney," Johnson said to the prosecution. Senior Judge Courtney Day, who is presiding over the case, questioned how the police will secure the truck from the owner and come to the issue of analysis. "In the public interest, I think it is incumbent on the police to go and retrieve that truck. It is too important of a matter to slip and slide. The request was made from December," Johnson stressed. Rodney is to return to court on June 7, where it is expected that the accident and reconstruction report will be ready, along with the report from the post-mortem. "The case cannot go any further. There is much more to be done. Bail is extended," Judge Day said. The crash victims, 15-year-old schoolgirl Lasivia Forrester and her 39-year-old mother, Patrina Wallis, of Gordon District in White House, Westmoreland, O'Neill Allen and his mother, 65-year-old Angela Samuel, both of Mount Edgecombe, and the 54-year-old Janet Thompson of McAlpine, also in Westmoreland, died on November 13 after the vehicle Rodney was driving collided with a truck. It is reported that about 3:30 p.m. on November 13, the 5 people and another passenger were aboard a gray Toyota Noah being driven by Rodney when the minivan collided with a truck which was traveling in the opposite direction. Overtime pay fury. Embattled, the chairman of the Jamaica Police Federation, Corporal Rohan James, on Thursday described as a complete fallacy and insistent by the High Command that there has been no temporary interruption of overtime payments to cops. At the same time, James said the $4.9 billion in overtime being taunted as paid out under the system to more than 12,500 rank-and-file members should be probed by the Auditor General. His charge comes as the Police High Command, in a statement on its social media pages on Thursday, responded to what it said are baseless claims aimed at creating unrest and discord among members being circulated in relation to the cessation of overtime payments to rank-and-file cops. According to the High Command, since the implementation of its workforce management system in April 2023, the Jamaica Constabulary Force has remained committed to ensuring the well-being of officers, including the prompt and accurate payment of overtime due. It said at the end of February 2024, more than $651 million in overtime payments were dispersed to members, and the timely and accurate payment of overtime to JCF members will continue. Additionally, the High Commander said in total, more than $4.9 billion in overtime has been paid out under the system, with an average of over 10,000 members receiving overtime payments each month. The JCF finds it very concerning that such false reports would begin circulating at this time. The JCF High Commander takes these matters seriously and views the spread of such misinformation and disinformation with great concern. We urge the public, and more specifically members of the JCF, to critically assess the veracity of information encountered on social media and other platforms, it said. But according to Corporal James, Even as the JCF issued its refutation, complaints from cops have continued to flow into the Federation, which represents a police from the rank of constable up to inspector. It is a total fallacy because the complaints are still coming in and are still being observed in the numerous communications rooms that we have established. Even today, there are several members who have not received any overtime payment and are questioning how it is that they are working X amount of hours and are only seeing remuneration for some hours, he told the news. According to the Federation chair, some cops have been receiving only partial overtime payments while others are receiving none. He said the aggrieved Federation has headed back to the courts to seek a resolution on the overtime issue, which is of some vintage. The Federation in 2019 had filed a lawsuit against the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of National Security, Attorney General and the Police Commissioner, complaining that its members had been working more than 40 hours per week without being paid. The Federation argued that this was in breach of the 2008 Heads of Agreement. In June 2022, the Supreme Court, in ruling partially in favor of the Federation, said each of the heads of agreement between the Federation and the ministries are binding on the government, as they created a legitimate expectation from rank-and-file cops that they would be paid for the overtime they had worked. The government was then ordered to put in place by March 31, 2023, a system to properly quantify the overtime hours of the police so that members can be accurately compensated. But the court sided with the government by not granting damages to the Police Federation, pointing out that rank-and-file cops had accepted a 10-hour overtime payment from the government regardless of actual hours worked until the new system was put in place. The court also ordered that the government to continue to pay the 10 hours of overtime until March 31, 2023, by which time the new system should be in place. On Thursday, James said the parties had not complied in full with the orders of the court. As a matter of fact, contempt proceedings were filed recently in the Supreme Court regarding non-compliance with the court orders in relation to the overtime matter, for which the court had issued several orders, and was filed on January 17. So it is expected that that matter will go forward, James told the news. He in the meantime scoffed at the $4.9 billion being touted by the JCF as having been paid out since. I would encourage the Auditor General to peruse that matter because we are still at the daggers drawn with it, and we are of the fervent view that the members are not benefiting to that tune, James told the news. Transfer of mentally ill prisoners from Spanish Town to Tower Street putting pressure on system. The transfer of some 50 mentally ill prisoners from St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center to Tower Street Adult Correctional Center in Kingston has swelled the ranks of inmates diagnosed with mental disorders housed at the latter to more than 200. And a forensic psychiatric expert, Dr. Mayako O, is warning that it will mean more pressure for staff there. The disclosure regarding the transfer emerged last Thursday when Dr. O, who is a sessional consultant psychiatrist with the Department of Correctional Services, took the stand in the trial of Lieutenant Coyote Burnett, the former Jamaica Defense Force physiotherapist who stabbed his attorney-at-law wife, Nadraka Williams Burnett, to death in December 2018. Dr. O had been asked by lead attorney for Burnett's defense team, Jacqueline Samuels Brown, King's Counsel, to give the location of the George Davis Center, a section of the Tower Street facility which housed the mentally ill inmates, and to say the number of inmates there at that time. Are there over 200 inmates at the Tower Street diagnosed with mental disorders? Samuel Brown asked. The number is not correct. Last week, Friday, the number was 157, Dr. O replied. Samuels Brown, however, countered that 20 mentally ill inmates had been transferred to the facility from St. Catherine in early February, with plans for another 40 to be moved. Dr. O replied while he was yet to be officially informed as to the final number. The rationale given for the transfers was a plan to refurbish the current infrastructure, which the mentally ill are kept at the St. Catherine prison. Asked, however, by Samuels Brown if the number of persons being transferred into his care with mental disorders would impact the ability to care for the grouping overall, Dr. O said if the numbers increase, definitely yes. That admission came after an earlier acknowledgement by the forensic psychiatric expert that while the death of former inmate Noel Chambers in 2020 triggered vast changes in the mental health services available to mentally disordered offenders at the Tower Street facility, the services there are still not up to his standard, and the environment it offers can only qualify as a 50% therapeutic.